Well, it's October 2nd, Friday, 2020. Happy belated birthday to Richard Corbin, one of my favorite artists of all time. Yesterday was his 90th birthday. Um, I should show you a bunch of his artwork sometime. But right now, I was going to show you. I'm starting, as I keep saying, to get to the point where things are coming together here in this main comic room. And I'm pulling out a few things as I'm going through boxes, just kind of showing you things that catch my eye, like this great comic. I mean, I just love the art design, the way the faces are drawn. It's Maisie Dean, the high school queen, and it's just great. You know, it's Archie inspired, but it's got its own style to it, and wonderful, wonderful ads. Um, Ads you don't normally see in other comics. I never dreamed I could play music. Yeah, it's the Stevie, I guess, is the Archie surrogate, and then you got Maisie, and then you got Flat Top. Wonderful 50s Archie knockoff. But there's something about, you know what? Look at Maisie. You know who she reminds me of? Kayleigh McEnany, the president's press secretary, the one that comes out for all um, the press conferences and eviscerates the media. President last night, I guess about 11 o'clock, announced that he and his wife had tested positive for the virus that cannot be named on YouTube. And that's a tragedy. I just flipping through Facebook, watching people say he should die in the gutter like a diseased rat. So this, I just block them. I don't even defriend them. I just block them because people that would say shit like that. I mean, I don't care how much you hate a president or somebody or any human being. I don't wish death on anybody that's crazy. This is a modern comics reprint from the late 70s. Then it's a 60s, Steve Ditko comic. And originally it's Charlton. And as I recall, these were sold in 3-packs that were cellophane and plastic. And you'd open it, you'd get it for 79 cents. And then you'd open it up and you'd have these comics. But, you got the 60s art next to something that's very clearly 70s, like a Kiss necklace or skateboarding kids. Although skateboarding dates back to the 60s. Except they didn't call it skateboarding, they called it sidewalk surfing. Here's a real Archie comic. I love Archie Comics. First prize going to Disneyland on this contest on the back. Let's see if there's anything amazing in here. Let's see. You can get a miniature dog at no cost. They used to sell live animals through the mail from comic books. There was they used to sell these little spider monkeys live, like in the back of comic books and in the back of Famous Monsters, and they would send a live animal, live monkey, to your door in a little box, I guess, with holes in it. And I always heard a story that a special delivery, it showed up actually on Thanksgiving Day, and it was a little spider monkey. And the kids were so excited it arrived. The postman brought it on Thanksgiving. I guess you can't hold it a day, even though it's a holiday, because it's a living creature. Anyway, so they open it up, and the spider monkey just scrambles and runs and starts masturbating into the mashed potatoes on the table for Thanksgiving dinner. Here's Sabrina comic. I noticed that the comic Crypt of Castle Hills just purchased this. He said he was inspired by me. His copy's actually, I think, in better shape than mine. Let's see what else. Okay, then I've got multiple copies of this. one of the Atlas comics from the 70s when they tried to start a comics line. It lasted about 3 or 4 issues. Got a lot of undergrounds. I'm starting to move those into special, like a special box for my undergrounds where they're not with everything else. I always loved Skip Williamson's art. Look, kids, just like real life, you know, underground comics were sold in head shops. They weren't. The art, Skip Williamson's art is just terrific. So that's going to go in my underground box. Before I didn't have anything separated. Just same with this Snarf. This is a Basil Wolverton Powerhouse Pepper reprint in it. But there's Snoid Comics, Arcrum, obviously. Beat the Snoid. Here's a Smilin' Jack. Smilin' Jack, kind of a forgotten comic strip character from the 40s. Ooh, this is in really shitty shape. It's Smokey the Bear, but it almost looks like some wildlife creature has gotten a hold of the cover. I think this must have come in one of, it used to be Buddy Saunders at Lone Star Comics, that's now mycomicshop.com. When they had a storefront, they got comics that were too badly damaged to sell individually, and they'd bundle them in a pack about this thick, and it would cost about $10, and they'd say you'd get it was like 5 pounds, I don't know how many pounds of comics, but and some were in really horrific shape. I just found one here, you know, I'll give you an idea. Where is it? Oh, yes. You know, it could run the gamut from something in this bad a shape, you know, but it's still something that you can actually read, but you kind of feel like you need to wash your hands after you read it. 2 comics that weren't too bad. Some of the comics in the spinner rack behind me are comics from that, because spinner rack, you leave a comic in a spinner rack too long, it starts to sag and get warped out of shape. So I'm starting to put them in, you know, boards behind them. This is reprints from the 80s, 50s comics, and here's some other underground stuff. You can see a lot of the underground comic artists of the 60s and 70s were inspired by EC, as you can see here. And EC warped a lot of people's minds and turned them into artists and writers, and I mean, warped their minds in a good way. Here's another issue of Skull Comics. Yeah, inside kind of looks a little bit, reminds me of like cartoons and cycle tunes, those magazines that came out in the 70s and 60s that about hot rods. It was like car dash TOONS. It was all kind of Big Daddy Roth kind of stuff. You know, this is all kind of perverse adult stuff. Skull, see, they even have EC on the coffin. So, and they really, EC is a heavy influence. But, you know, with an adult, you know, this stuff is kind of adult. Kind of adult, very adult. Oh, here's Corbin. Richard Corbin, whose birthday was yesterday, turning 90 years old. I'm sure there's artwork inside by Corbin too. How about that? Oh my gosh. Can't show that on television. But he has, Richard Corbin was a master with the airbrush and created shading and just a wonderful, the hell is this? Oh, Paul Mavrides. This is just sketches from Paul Mavrides. It's called Skull Farmer. Obviously, I was going through an S-box, as you could tell. Skull the Slayer lasted a little bit. Marvel comic, probably about 1975. But, you know, dinosaurs. What else could you want? Amazing. to get this stuff bagged and boarded. I was talking about these Jack Chick tracks the other day, or yesterday, or the day before. I don't know what day it was. And I was saying that they had these regular comic book sized ones, the Crusaders, and I said they were an adventure team that went around, and so this is more of a traditional looking comic book, and you can get all these back issues. You ever see any of these in the dollar bin? These are part of that series. Logan's Run was a cool comic. This was the summer. There's another issue in there that it's a real key collectible. See, this is what they call the Mark Jewelers. This little cardboard thing in the center of the comic is not in every issue. It's only in issues that were sold on army bases. Because it's like soldiers, they figure if you're lonely enough to be reading this comic book stationed maybe over in Germany or Japan, you probably are wanting to get married to your girlfriend, and maybe they're hinting, hey, buy the ring. I found these at half-price books. These are recent reprints of Charlton Hercules comics, and they're pretty thick, and cost $6, but it's reprints of the Charlton stuff, so Charlton is actually still in print in some way. These are cool John Carter comics. If you ever see these, it's pretty faithful to the original storylines from the books, the Edgar Rice Burroughs books, except, they have him updated to a soldier of modern day instead of a Civil War soldier. But other than that, it follows the storyline pretty closely. Here, Tars Tarkas looks a little bit like Pepe the Frog, the notorious meme character. But yeah, John Carter of Mars, Gold Key. What more can you ask for? Well, you got to read those books. Then you'll see wherever issue Where Monsters Dwell. I picked this up. I guess I got this at Cosmic Comics a couple weeks ago. I've had this since I was a kid. This is actually a hardcover. I guess they do this in Europe or England, probably England. They do these annuals for their, and then, it's the comics from the United States, but they package it in a really cool way. But, it's just, shit, I'm not even showing it. I gotta get it on camera. It's just the Gold Key comics, but then they add stuff into it, and it's on like really good quality paper. I've had this since I was like 5 years old, so I need to put that up on the bookshelf again. And what else have I pulled? Had some of these comics pulled. I was doing a simulation of Metarog's set last night. Man, I keep forgetting to put my glasses on. I think this is issue number 1 of the Mini Ghosts of Dr. Graves. Pretty sure it's issue 1. Can't see anything, especially when they put the numbers on the paper with the blue and purple ink. This is another Modern Comics reprint of a 60s comic. This is a promotional comic. I put this in the set of the Metarog parody set because Metarog's really into these promotional comics. Whatever the hell Inapac is, this comic's promoting it. Little Monsters is a wonderful. I was also going through the L box, obviously. This is a Whitman variant. Man, look at that. 100 toy soldiers. Yeah, this is like a Munsters deal. Parody ripoff, I should say. Munsters, Addams Family kind of thing. So, of course, they had the rights. Gold Key had the rights to do Munsters. They had a Munsters comic, but this is these cool patches. This is a cool comic. I always liked it. Little Monsters. I don't have a complete run or anything, but whenever I see it, I get it. Especially, these are all my childhood copies, and whenever I see it today, I get it. But I need to kind of trying to take inventory so I don't like buy stuff I already own, because I don't have enough money to do that. If I'm going to buy something, it needs to be something I don't already have. It's cool to have multiple copies of something. It looks impressive on display, but I don't have time for that. Oh, I got this at the 7-Eleven in Hampton, Virginia. I walked a block or two as a 7-year-old in second grade and got this. It's a Marvel comic that no one's ever heard of, Little Pals, but it's reprints of these cool 50s funny animal comics like Cuckoo Cat that nobody remembers, Jungle Fun, The Monkey and the Bear. It was entertaining to me, and I got the next issue. I think I got a total of 3 issues. I got issues 1, 2. Look at that. I like the art. 1, 2, and 4. So I need issue 3. Looks like Henrietta Hippo from the notorious New Zoo Review. Yeah. And what else? What? Little pals. And then recently, or a few years ago, I found this. They also did a comic called Little Kids. And they almost, Little Kids and Little Pals. And this one I never saw as a kid, and this looks like, Bub the Mutt. It's cool stuff, Little Lenny. I mean, stuff that in 1972, 73 looked very old-fashioned. This is going back to the real old days, but look at all the cool new stuff that was happening in Marvel. Doc Savage, those 2 Western guys that nobody remembers, and Man-Thing. Never really read the Western comics other than Jonah Hex and Scalp Hunter. Little Lizzie. I never really got into the Western comics. This is Harvey Kurtzman. It's an underground comic, but it's all reprints of his 50s stuff. They just put an adult cover on it to sell it to hippies, so they think they're getting something offensive, but in reality it's just wholesome Harvey Kurtzman comics. This is something nobody collects, and it's like in dollar bins, and I have no freaking idea why. Nicole The Conqueror, because the artwork in it is amazing, and I don't know why it's ignored in favor of look at this. It's a combination of Marie and John Severin, brother-sister team, and they're like some of my favorite artists. I was addicted to Cracked magazine. That sounded bad. Not addicted to crack. I was addicted to Cracked magazine for many years, just because John Severin and Marie Severin, anything she did for Marvel, and she was a colorist in the old days for EC, amazing. You gotta. So dig these up. If you haven't collected them, you can get them really cheap, and I don't think they're gonna run the risk of going up in value anytime soon. They made a Nicole The Conqueror movie with the guy that played Hercules back in the 90s, and it was really a shitty movie with a heavy metal theme song, and it didn't make a splash. No one remembers that movie, and it didn't drive the price up of these comics, so they're amazing, and I recommend Nicole The Conqueror, part of the Robert E. Howard world. So get these things. What else? I'm recording this on my phone, and I just saw flashing at the top of the screen that I just got a message from the comic Crypt of Castle Hills, and it said, "Ha ha, that's a good one." So I don't know. He may be commenting on my Metarog video from last night. I don't know. Something I said was funny or did was funny. And speaking of comic Crypt of Castle Hills, he was recently showing off his Commandy Commandy, I don't know how to pronounce it because I've never said the word out loud in my life. I've read the comic for a million years. I always thought it was Commandy, but it could be Commandi. You know, it's obviously based on the word commando. I don't know, because how do you really know? It's one of those things. Harry Truman, really brilliant president of the United States, often mispronounced words because he grew up in a little small hick town. He went to the library. He read voraciously. So he knew all these words. He just never heard anyone say the words. He didn't know how they were pronounced. And back then you couldn't go to a computer and have it say the word for you. So he just assumed how the words were pronounced. So he had a tremendous vocabulary. He was very intelligent, but he'd mispronounce the words, and people would laugh at him. You know, the people that look at Middle America as flyover country. Here's the first issue with the I wonder what made Jack Kirby think of the Statue of Liberty. And, you know, yeah, it was in Planet of the Apes, and that's what he was going for. But, you know, that was on many pulp magazine covers before Planet of the Apes. That was an old trope. That's a word I don't think I've ever said out loud before, but it's an old trope that where, you know, the Statue of Liberty in ruins, and you can tell, oh, it's the future, and something really bad's happened. In a video yesterday, I was talking about, well, one thing, I lost a subscriber yesterday, but I gained 12, or was it more? I was like at 86. I'm not good at math, but now I'm at 91. I was up to 92. I went down. I think that's because I was talking about how I like Donald Trump, and that caused probably someone to, oh, I got unsubscribe to this motherfucker because he likes Trump. That's, I'm not going to unsubscribe to someone if they like Biden. But maybe I shouldn't get into politics in this. But I was talking about how I don't like change. I like, if you're going to make a movie based on a book I've read or a comic book that I've loved and grown up with, I want it to feel, look exactly like it was. And so I was talking about Fantastic Four. Someone on the internet was talking about, you know, they've cast an African-American actor to play Kang the Conqueror. Now, Kang was first in Fantastic Four as Rama Tut, and then later in the Avengers, and we learned that Kang, is a descendant of Reed Richards. He's many years in the future. He's related to Reed Richards. That Reed Richards is his ancestor. So they cast an African American actor, and so they said, well, are they going to cast African American actors as the Fantastic Four? And I was thinking, well, Reed Richards is practically, he's so white, he's practically a Mormon. I mean, he's like the most straight-laced 1950s guy smoking the pipe. You know, that's who he is. And Sue and Johnny are just blonde white kids, and then the Thing is a Jewish New Yorker, kind of rough guy, but he's actually very smart. You know, he is a college graduate, and he flew fighter planes, and he talks that way, but he's actually very intelligent. That's something that not many people realize. They just think, oh, he's a dumb guy from New York. No, he's actually very, very smart. But anyway, recasting just as a stunt, I don't think is smart. I don't think it was right in old Hollywood. In some of the old movies, they would take white actors and paint them black. In some of the very early Tarzan movies, I thought that's really wrong. If you're gonna make the Fantastic Four, make it look exactly like Jack Kirby drew it. And nowadays, you know, everybody's real touchy, and it's like, I don't want someone thinking, oh, you know, that was racist what he said. He said that the Fantastic Four should be white in that movie. Just make them look the way Jack Kirby drew them. And the Marvel universe was very diverse in the 60s. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were very were very progressive, they were very liberal, and they made sure they represented people of all cultures, nationalities, religions in their comics. And so that's the way they should be adapted into. And you know, like Black Panther was a great movie. I don't know what they're going to do with the sequel. I heard somewhere they're not going to recast the Black Panther. They're going to maybe have his kid's sister become the Black Panther. I disagree with that. I think James Bond, there's been many James Bonds over the years. Yes, Sean Connery, arguably, in my opinion, is the best. And maybe Chadwick, is it Chadwick Boseman? Maybe he'll remain the best, but I think you should recast. I just don't think an actor leaves, an actor unfortunately passes away. Don't just say, well, so much for that character. We got to no, just keep the character going. These are iconic characters that have been around 60, in some cases 70, 80 years. You know, Captain America has been around since 1940. Um, just I don't think Captain America should be played by a guy with red hair or a guy with black hair. Because Captain America has blonde hair, so that's the way they did it. That's cool. Just keep. I like things to stay the way they are. I guess I just keep things. That's the way I like the world. The comic books on the movie theater screen, I want it to look exactly the same way. And if they could just, hopefully what they'll do with Fantastic Four is they'll have it in the 1960s, and then they'll get caught in an alternate universe, whatever, the alternate dimension that Ant-Man, I can't remember the name of it right now, and they'll be stuck there and then pulled back out, and they'll be these superheroes from the 60s, because they're characters that really I think belong in the 60s. That was their prime period, and it's unfortunate the movies that have been made have been so bad, and the best adaptation of Fantastic Four has been a 1967 cartoon. Oh, I guess really the best adaptation of Fantastic Four was The Incredibles, because that really was the Fantastic Four. Um, so, Fantastic Four, I'm looking forward to that. There's some husband-wife team that they're rumored about casting that I don't even know who they are. I think one of them was, or I think they were both in some movie where you had to be really quiet or the weird space aliens would kill you. I think it was called Be Quiet or something. I don't know. I didn't see that movie. Um, I Fantastic Four is what got me into this hobby, and just keep it exactly the way it was. John Byrne. I really love John Byrne's artwork. I think he's great, and he had this long run on the Fantastic Four. Was it in the late '80s? Anyway, I was buying it. Then all of a sudden, uh, Johnny Storm had like a fishbowl, stupid 1980s haircut. And it's like, no, Johnny Storm is a hot rodder. He's like this cool guy that should have basically a pompadour. He should be building hot rods. He's not some guy that would have some stupid new wave haircut. And then they have Johnny Storm going out with Alicia Masters, the Thing's girlfriend. It's like, oh yeah, I know this is a soap opera, but don't that's sacred. The Human Torch, Johnny Storm's not ever. Yeah, they fight a lot, the Thing and the Human Torch, but he's not gonna screw around with the Thing's girlfriend. That's just not who Johnny Storm is, and so uh, that kind of wore on me. That was right about the time I started to not buy as many new comics. I just don't like change. That's just who I am. I'm an old curmudgeon, but I sometimes change is good, but I want things to be like they were in 1966 or 1957. Well, without the Vietnam War and the draft and all that. There's some good things today, like high definition television and what's good today? I couldn't think of it in a video a few days ago, and I still really can't think of many good things about today. I gotta mow the lawn, and then I'm going to film a tribute video for Comic Crypt of Castle Hills, and I'm gonna maybe do part 2 of the Metarog tribute video, and um, uh, I don't know what else I'm gonna do today. Something incredible, I'm sure. I will talk to you soon.